All right, this is the key to practice final number 2. Okay, so starting with multiple choice, we have a system of equations. We can solve this by elimination or substitution. I'm going to solve it via elimination. It doesn't tell us what to do. And I'm going to do that by just adding them together. So I'm going to add the top equation, negative 6x minus 4y equals 10. And I'm going to add 4x plus 4y equals negative 8. That'll get me negative 2x equals 2. So the reason I was able to do this, or why this worked, is because these were opposites, right? 4y and negative 4y. They're opposites of each other, so when I add them, they cancel out. If that's not the case, you need to multiply the equations by a number, both either maybe top and bottom, depends what the numbers are, so that they are opposites, so that when you add them, they do cancel. I'll divide this by negative 2 on both sides, so x will equal negative 1. So I know it's between either a or c. Then I'll just plug negative 1 back in and solve for y. So I'm going to plug into the bottom equation. It's going to be negative 4 plus 4y equals negative 8. 4y equals negative 4. For both sides. And y equals negative 1. So that means it must be c. Okay? Write slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. So we're looking at this line, so what's the slope-intercept form? So I see this, the intercept, the y-intercept is 2, so my b is 2. And then my slope, you want to find 2 corner points. So as I'm looking here, this is a corner point here. And it looks, it looks like this is a corner point here. It's kind of hard to exactly tell. These are not going through corners, but if I had to guess, it would be these 2. And so I can find the rise of a run between these here. On a bigger note, if you know the y-intercept is 2, your b is 2, right? It cannot be b or c, right? We can eliminate them because those have different y-intercepts, different b's. And if you look between a and d, a is negative and d is positive slope, so it means it has to be d. Okay, and I can kind of confirm that by what I just said. This change in y was 7, the change in x was 5, so 7/5 x plus 2 makes sense. Okay, solve each equation. So we're solving this for v. We're going to start by distributing that negative 6, so 174 equals 48v plus 3. That's 171 equals 48v. Oh, I made a mistake. 174 equals 48v minus, let me rewrite this. Sorry about that. I didn't distribute to both. So it's negative 6 times negative 8v and negative 6 times 3. So 174 equals 48v minus 18. Then we'll add 18 to both sides, and we'll get 192. Equals 48v. And then let's do 192 divided by 48. I'm going to guess this is 4, but we'll check. 192 divided by 48. Oop. 192 divided by 48 is indeed 4. So we divide by 48 both sides. So v equals 4. So it's d. Okay. Evaluate each function. So we're given a function. We're going to find f of 10. F of t equals t minus 5. What's f of 10? F of 10, all we do, guys, is plug in 10 for t. So it equals 10 minus 5, which equals 5. So the answer is B. All right. Okay, so those for each 2 points each. Now we got some short response. Okay. Simplify the expression. Write your answer using positive integer exponents. So no negative or fractional exponents. Okay. So we multiply same base, different exponents, we just add. So this is going to be x to the 7th. Here, when we have like a quotient, like a fraction, all to an exponent. We're going to distribute that exponent to each of these terms. So we're going to have 2 to the negative 2 over 2 to the negative 2, t to the negative 6. Okay? That's me distributing that negative 2 on the outside to all of the exponents on the inside. Remember, these have little 1s on them. So we're just multiplying negative 2 times 1, negative 2 times 1, negative 2 times 3. Then I don't like negative exponents, so I'm going to switch their place to make them positive. So now it'll be 2 squared t to the 6th over 2 squared, because I can move where they are and make their exponents positive. That means that these cancel, so that our answer is just t to the 6th. Okay, down here, 12 over 6, 12 divided by 6 is just 2. X to the third over x, we're going to subtract 3 minus 1, that's x squared. And then minus 3, y to the negative 3 minus 1 would be y to the negative 4. Now I can't have negative exponents, we're going to move that to the denominator. So we have 2x squared over y to the 4th. Okay, last one here. 8 over 27 to the 2/3. That is the same as the third root of 8 over 27 squared. Okay, that's the same thing. So that's the same thing as the third root of 8 squared over the third root of 27 squared. Now the third root of 8 is 2, so this is then just 2 squared. Third root of 27 is 3, so that's just 3 squared, so it is 4/9. Okay, so remember that denominator is the root, the numerator is the power. All right, we got some exponential equations. We've got to make the bases the same. So root 8 is the same as 8 to the 1/2. So 8 to the 1/2 equals 8 to the x plus 8. We're going to make those exponents equal to each other. 1/2 equals x plus 8. Subtract 8, subtract 8. Negative 7.5 equals x. On the right side here, they're not the same base, right? This is 16, this is 64. 16 is the same as 4 squared. So this is 4 squared to the x. And 64 is the same as 4 to the third. This is 4 to the third to the x minus 3. Notice how now the bases are the same. We're going to distribute that exponent, so 4 to the 2x equals 4 to the 3x minus 9. Now we can just set those exponents equal to each other. So 2x equals 3x minus 9. So minus 2x plus 9 plus 9. 9 equals x. Okay? All right. The function p of t is 40,500 times 0.95 to the t. Represents the population of a small town. Is this growth or decay? All right. This is decay because the growth factor is less than 1, but greater than 0. Okay, that is given here. So 0.95. That's giving me the growth or decay. To find the rate of decay, we can do whatever this number is minus 1. So 0.95 minus 1 is negative 0.05, which means it's decaying by 5%. 0.05 is 5%. So that means decaying by 5%. I mean, you can just, if you're confused in this question, you can just type into your calculator and see as t goes up, is this getting bigger or smaller? Okay. How many people will be living in the town after 3 years? You can just write this 40,500 times 0.95 to the power of 3. This you can do in your calculator. I'm okay with you leaving it in exact form as well, but you would do, so on your calculator, 0.95 times 0.95 times 0.95. I'm just doing it written out because you might have a basic calculator, and then we're going to multiply that by 40,500. and since to the nearest whole number, that would be 34,724. And then that's exact form here. This would be exact form. And I'm okay if you leave it like that. All right, so here we've got combining polynomials. I feel like you guys are pretty good on this. I think the bit that people are struggling with is a little bit number 3, and then a little bit on the exponent rule, like this page here. That seems to be what people are struggling on. So if that's what you're struggling on, go find those problems in Delta. Go to those, go to chat, I think it's chapter 6, go do those problems. Okay, let's do some polynomials. All right, so here we're just combining like terms. We're adding. So 4g squared minus 5g squared, that's maybe negative g squared. G minus 9g, that's going to be negative 8g, negative 8, plus negative 4, so negative 8 minus 4, it's negative 12, and then this 7g to the third doesn't have a partner, so it just stays. It says in standard form, so that means we need it in high degree to low degree, so this is the same as 7g to the third minus g squared minus 8g minus 12. Here, when you subtract, you want to take that extra step to distribute that subtraction to each of the terms. So we're going to write 12y squared plus 5 minus 13y squared minus 5y plus 4. So I'm distributing that negative first, and then I'm going to combine like terms. So 12y squared minus 13y squared, which is going to be negative y squared. 5 and 4 is 9. And then minus 5y. That's it. Okay. 2x minus 6 quantity squared. Remember, this is just 2x minus 6 times 2x minus 6. This is just box method. Both of these are going to be box method. So 2x minus 6, 2x minus 6, 4x squared minus 12x minus 12x, 36. 4x squared minus 24x plus 36. Here, 2x minus 4, x plus 7, 2x squared minus 4x, 14x minus 28. That'll be 2x squared plus 10x minus 28. Okay? All right. Factoring. Okay, we've got 2 more pages here. Factoring. And then we got some simplification down here. All right, factor. All right, so when we factor, if a is 1, like in this case, it's pretty straightforward. 2 numbers are multiplied, I get 6, add to get negative 5. That's going to be negative 3 and negative 2. So x minus 3 times x minus 2. Over here, this is a is greater than 1, so we cannot do that method. You guys seem to like ACB. To do ACB, it is AC on top. So I'll write it down ACB. So it's AC on top, that's 5 times 24, that's 120, over B, 34. 2 numbers that multiply to get 120, add to get 34. It's just 30 and 4. Then we will split that middle term up, so 5x squared is plus 30x plus 4x plus 24. Take out the greatest common factor, 5x, x plus 6. Greatest common, try and make it match, so it's a 4 plus 4, x plus 6. So then our answer is 5x plus 4 times x plus 6. And that's it. We have factored them. Okay. Find the vertex and axis of symmetry of the graph of 1/2 x squared minus 6x plus 10. So the axis of symmetry, remember, is negative b over 2a. It should be on your note card. So that would be, in this case, 6 over 1, because b is negative 6 and a is 1/2. When I plug that in, negative 6 is 6. And in the bottom, 2a, 2 times 1/2 is 1. So it's just 6. So then for the vertex, it's going to be 6 comma f of 6. So we need to find f of 6 down here. So just plug a 6 back in. It's going to be 1/2. And then it'll be 6 squared minus 6 times 6 plus 10. So that's 36 times 1/2 minus 36 plus 10. Half of 36, that's 18, minus 36 plus 10. I think that's negative 8. I am going to double check that just to make sure I'm right. So 18 minus 36 plus 10. Yeah, it is negative 8. Good. All right. We're simplifying these radicals here. So here, root 121, if you can root it, you want to root it. So root 121 is 11. Y to the 9th, I can't root that perfectly, but I can rewrite that as root y to the 8th times root y, and I'll come back to that one. Over on bottom, root 25 is 5, root y to the 6th is y to the 3rd. So I just need to simplify like the numerator now. Y to the 8th, root y to the 8th is just y to the 4th. So it's 11 y to the 4th root y over 5y cubed. Over here, 50 can be split up into root 25 and root 2, and that's 5 root 2. We're going to bring everything down though. So we're going to bring that 2 down, and we're going to bring the 2 root 2 down. So now we have 2 root 2 minus 10 root 2. That's negative 8 root 2. Okay, so in this case, you want to simplify the radical as much as you can, and then combine it. Okay, here we're going to multiply by root 5 over root 5. This is called rationalizing, getting rid of that radical in the denominator. So we have 5 root 5 over 5, which is just root 5, because these will cancel. Here, we're going to multiply this by root 10 minus 3 over root 10 minus 3. That is 3 root 10 minus 9 over, this will be 1 on bottom. If you wanted to verify that, you could do the box method here, like root 10, 3, root 10 minus 3, and then you'd see is 10 minus 9, which is 1. Okay, last page. Solve the equation using any method. So these are quadratic equations. It doesn't specify the method, so I can do whatever I want. I'm going to do quadratic formula for the first one, because it just looks ugly, and when it looks ugly, I don't want to factor it. I want to quadratic formula it. So remember, it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that would be negative 13. Remember, a is negative 10, b is 13, c is negative 4. So negative 13 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 13 squared minus 4 times negative 10 times negative 4 all over negative 20. Okay, now we're just doing calculator stuff. If you've gone to this part, you're going to get the majority of the points, but we just need to make sure we do it correctly in the calculator. So 13 squared is 169, I believe. Yep, so 169. And then here we have minus and we have double negative, so we are going to be subtracting here. So we have 4 times 4 times 10. That should be minus, it's going to be minus 160. 4 times negative, so it's negative 10 times negative 4, which is 40, times 4, it's 160, then it's minus, so yeah, and that looks good. And then negative 13 plus or minus that. That's 9. This is 9 right here. So we now have negative 13 plus minus 9 over negative 20, which will give me 2. Okay, I'm editing. This is an edit. Okay. Now, there's a mistake here that I caught after I'd solved this. But for this problem, I was a little too hasty here. This should be root 9. So what it should be is negative 13 plus minus 3 over negative 20. So that would be negative 10 over negative 20, which is 1/2. And then it would be negative 16 over negative 20, which is 4/5. These are the solutions. Okay. So ignore this in the video. Ignore that. These are the solutions. Looks a little cleaner. We're gonna subtract 2x squared from both sides. We get x squared plus, and then minus 16. X squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. This is a lot easier. A is 1. I can factor this. Two numbers that multiply get negative 7 and 6. That would be 7 and negative 1. So my factors are x plus 7 times x minus 1. So x equals negative 7 and x equals 1. This is equal to 0. Okay. Okay, last one. We have this function that represents the height of an athlete after pole vaulting. It says how many seconds does it take the athlete to reach her maximum height, and then what is the maximum height. This is another, this is the way that you want to picture this, is it's a parabola, and so this point is like her peak. It's also called the vertex, right? So what this is really saying is, what's the x value of the vertex, or this is the axis of symmetry. That's really what that's saying. And this is really kind of asking what the vertex y value is. Does that make sense? So we just need to find the vertex. So remember, the vertex is negative b over 2a. So here would be negative 20 over negative 8. That's the same as 5 halves. 5 halves. So I go to top and bottom by negative 4. That's going to be 5 halves, which would be the number of seconds. So it would be 2.5 seconds. And then we need to take f of that. So we need to take f of 5 halves. That would be negative 4 times 5 halves squared plus 20 times 5 halves. And again, you can use your calculator to help you with this, but that would be 25 over 4 times negative 4 plus 20 times 5 halves. Okay, so here that's going to cancel. It's going to be negative 25, and then here that'll be 50. So it's 25. So it would be 25 feet. That's extra credit, so don't stress too much about that last one. But that is just finding the vertex of this quadratic. That's all you're asked to do. All right, guys. Best of luck with the studying. I have office hours Thursday after school, so hope to see you there. All right. Bye, guys.